Hey guys, Pierre from Into Fly Fishing, and welcome to another fly tying tutorial. In the vise today I've got a fly called a Chromie. Chromie is an excellent midge or chronomid pattern that can be used on lakes and rivers. This fly tying tutorial is brought to you by Vixen. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check the links in the video description for a full review on their new fly fishing waste pack. It has a removable foam sleeve so that you can store this fly and others that you'll learn to tie safely while you're out on the river. The tools you'll need to tie the Chromie is a vise, one or two bobbin holders as you'll be using more than one thread, a whip finishing tool, scissors, bodkin and Sally Hansen's hard as nails. Before we get into tying the Chromie, please like and subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so that you can be notified if we release any more tying videos or gear reviews. So let's get to tying the fly. The hook that I'm using is a Moosh 8423 in a size 14. Any long shank nymph hook would be perfect. You can also tie this fly on a scud hook. What you also need is a tungsten bead. Right here I've got a fluorescent 2.5mm tungsten bead in the color chartreuse. Just pop that onto the hook, place the hook back. Now that the hook is back into the vise, just lock it in place and make sure that it is seated securely, that it doesn't come loose later on. After I've placed the bead in place, I'll move the bead all the way back and I'm going to attach my thread in front of the bead. Right here in my bobbin holder I've got olive thread in a 6/0, just a light olive from a company called Grip. I'll attach the thread just behind the eye with a couple of wraps, and once it's secured I'll take my scissors and I'll just cut off the excess. Then make one or two more wraps just to make sure it doesn't unravel. I then take a piece of antron yarn that I've cut to length and I place it on top of the hook shank like so. With a pinch wrap, I just pinch wrap it in place and about 4 or 5 wraps. That's all you need. Before we finish off this side, I'm just going to pull back this antron yarn and I'm going to take the thread and just wrap it in front of the antron yarn like so. Then take your whip finishing tool and do a 3 or 4 turn whip finish. Now this is usually where you'll end off the fly, but because we've got the gills that are facing forward on the fly, let me just show you where we're heading. So because we have the gills that are facing forward like that, this little white portion is what we're tying in now. So now that we've cut off the thread, we'll just fold this forward facing bit forward. There's one fiber that's a little bit hard, okay. And then we cut off the excess here at the back. Just trim it quite neat and quite close to where you tied it on. Now, you'll know you did it correctly if your bead is able to slot over. Just push it forward so that it seats in place right behind the hook eye. Now take your olive thread again and just lock it in place behind the bead and trim off the excess. I then go up forward and I just build a little thread dam behind the bead so that it doesn't run back all the time. That should be fine, just like that. Now we need to create a thread base for the rest of the shank. But what I want you to do is to open the thread every couple of wraps. One of the most important things about the Chromie is the perfect midge-like taper that it has, or profile, and that can't be created if your thread is too bulky. So I'm just going to turn my thread in the anti-clockwise direction and then go back. You'll notice that it just creates a much smoother and finer body. Just like that. Now I run my thread forward to just behind this thread dam that I built. For my ribbing, I have Semperfly 0.1 millimeter fine wire in brown. It's like a very fine copper wire. I then place it next to the shank, on the side of the shank, lock it in place and run my thread back while still opening it every now and then. It's very important to keep the thread flat. So this is the first ribbing. Run the thread forward again. And for my second ribbing, I'm going to use silver flashabou. This is where the fly gets its name, as a chromie, so you can use any flat silver tinsel or holographic flashabou or whatever. I'll just have a fine silver flashabou that I use on streamer patterns. So I just tied it in place and I'm running my thread backwards. Right, just putting all of that in my material, keep there. Okay, now we're just opening the thread again and I'm creating a body, an underbody with the olive thread. That is going to be the underbody. So it's very important that you open the thread every now and then, just to get that neat look. When you reach the front of the abdomen, you just take your whip finishing tool and do a neat whip finish right there behind the bead. Cut off your thread. Now, in your other bobbin holder, or if you don't have another bobbin holder, just swap the thread now. I've got a burnt orange Danville's Flymaster thread in the size 6/0, and I just attach that behind the bead. Just remember, this is a typical midge or chronomid pattern, so it really can be tied in a range of colors. Black, brown, red works very well. This is one of my personal favorite ones. It's just like an olive or an off olive color. So you can really tie a box filled with various colors and different sizes and weights. So the first ribbing that goes on is the flat wire, the flat tinsel, and I just wrap that in the same direction as a thread. I'm aiming to get about between 6 and 8 wraps of ribbing, just like that. Once you get to the bead, just secure it in place with your thread and cut off the excess, like so. Now the ribbing, the brown or copper wire ribbing, the same direction, and I just wrap it almost at the same spot as the silver flashabou, and I secure it in place. Cut off the excess, and I'm just going to build a collar out of this thread. Make a couple of wraps, just like so, and take your whip finishing tool and do a neat whip finish just behind the bead. So, cut off the thread, and now all the tying is done. So before we put on the resin, take the forward facing antron yarn and fold it over the bead and cut it just, if you look at the point where the thorax intercepts, the end of the thorax intercepts the antron, that's where I cut it. So use a very sharp pair of scissors and just make one snip, and that's what you want. Now, I'm taking some Silly Hansons, hard as nails. And this is where a rotary vise really comes into its own. But once again, as I always say, it's not absolutely necessary, it just makes the life so much easier. So you'll see that I place Silly Hansons with the brush. Don't be scared to cover the bead as well. And now with the rotary function of my vise, I just go around. Just like that. And you'll notice there's actually a little bit too much, and this is where a bodkin comes in handy. I just remove some of the excess at the bottom. Just like so. You can allow that to cure for about 10 to 15 minutes, and if you want to, you can add another coat just to give it that shimmer or shine. But yeah, that's it. That's the Chromie. I hope that you guys enjoyed this fly tying tutorial. If you did, please share it with your friends. Leave any comments, questions or suggestions at the bottom of the page. And please subscribe to our channel. I would love to share more fly tying content with you. Until next time, cheers.